Now it's no exaggeration to say that Korea is at the forefront of democracy, as it is carrying out a very wide range of defense exports. The Armament Union is now considering co-developing and exporting the Korean fighter 21 fighter jet. Egypt is close to finalizing a contract for 100 fighter attack, 60 light fighter jets as Korea continues its steady defense exports. Let's discuss this topic. We've recently received good news. The Armament Union is interested in the Korean fighter 21 fighter jet with discussions about co-developing and exporting it. The Armament Union had been pushing to introduce the latest fighter jets due to the aging of their French-made Mirage fighters. It was a day when they continuously showed interest in purchasing Korea's Korean fighter 21 fighter jet. In 2020, they announced plans to replace the Mirage fighters with 50 F-35 jets. The United States Armament Joint Communications Office said they wouldn't sell unless Huawei equipment was removed, solely because of Huawei's presence. The Armament Union refused, so they dropped the plan to introduce F-35 jets. Since they need to replace their old fighter jets, they considered several countries. Korea's Korean fighter 21 fighter jet appears to have caught their attention. In April, top Armament Union officials and Air Force personnel visited Korea and signed a letter of intent for broad Korean fighter 21 cooperation going beyond a memorandum of understanding. In August, the Deputy Minister of Defense of the Armament Union personally boarded a prototype of the Korean fighter 21 fighter jet at the Air Force Base in Sacheon, Gyeongnam to check its performance. And this time, discussions have finally begun in earnest. To sum up what's been said so far, the Armament Union is investing about 22 trillion won to develop the Korean fighter 21 fighter jet and is reportedly considering producing an upgraded Korean fighter 21 version locally. The two countries are reportedly discussing joint development and export of the 5th generation stealth Korean fighter 21 fighter jet. For Korea, these discussions are seen as a major opportunity. Analysts think the Armament Union and the need to upgrade old weapons will create a major defense export market in the Middle East. Also, what if we secure Korean fighter 21 fighter jet export rights to the Armament Union this time? The Armament Union plans to replace 390 tanks, 60 fighter jets, and 80 self-propelled guns, creating a chance to export both the K2 tank and K9 self-propelled gun. Above all, the defense companies have already started to take action. LIG, Nexon, and Kaleidos plan to form a joint venture in the Armament Union to jointly develop next-generation air defense systems and boost production, supporting the government's defense localization strategy. Hanwha Aerospace may form a joint venture with Saudi Arabia's National Defense Ministry. By September, they had set up a Middle East and North Africa regional headquarters in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. A localization strategy is being used in the Middle East, just like in Europe, which makes me a bit angry. As you know, Indonesia didn't pay properly, causing conflicts between the countries. With the Arab Emirates now willing to cooperate, Indonesia can be pushed out of the Korean fighter 21 fighter jet project. Currently, the Arab Emirates' position surpasses Indonesia's. Indonesia was to pay 1.62 trillion won, but notified us they'd pay only 600 billion won due to lack of funds. But the ones who said they didn't have money, Indonesia signed a deal for 48 Turkish Aerospace Industries Khan jets from Turkey and at least 42 jets from China, which greatly betrayed Korea. If the Armament Union joins, investment could jump from 600 billion won to 22 trillion won, speeding up Korean fighter 21 fighter jet development. Currently, even in Indonesia, people are sensitive to the Armament Union's attempt to join as a co-developer. Egypt is almost certain to introduce Korean-made weapons. In 2022, Egypt signed a defense contract worth about 2 trillion won, including the K9 self-propelled howitzer. The K9 self-propelled howitzer plant is expected to begin mass production next year. However, cooperation may also expand to include the fighter attack, 50 light fighter jet, and Cheongjeom anti-tank missile. According to Arab news sources, it seems almost certain that 100 fighter attack 50s will be exported to Egypt. Many weapons Egypt imported from the Soviet Union and West in the 1950s and 60s are now outdated, so it's time to replace them. Korea made good use of the situation, though Egypt did set some conditions. They chose to make 64 units in Egypt and export 36 from Korea. Arab news repeatedly reports the deal is imminent, so I believe Egypt's export rights are essentially secured. Recently, the whole world, not just the Middle East, is urgently buying weapons as conflicts and wars occur almost daily. Due to changing regional situations, there's a greater need to strengthen the military. Additionally, each country must secure a stable supply chain and achieve technological independence. The United States and the West have often hesitated to do this due to worries about technology leaks. However, Hanguk took advantage of this gap precisely. They set up localization strategies and, if requested, would build local factories to produce and sell products together. Above all, Hanguk was very good at meeting delivery deadlines. In fact, one of the biggest reasons why European countries are trying to buy weapons from Hanguk is that they meet delivery deadlines better than other countries. This is natural. After the Cold War, European countries largely abandoned their defense industries, causing those sectors to collapse. However, because of the confrontation with Buchan, Hanguk had to maintain its defense industry to some extent. As a result, they were in a situation where they had no choice but to mass produce. Over time, this paid off. Mass production enabled them to make affordable weapons. Especially since Hanguk's seasons are extremely harsh, their weapons were a perfect fit for the conditions of many other countries as well. Timely delivery, low prices, and decent performance created a major growth opportunity for Hanguk's defense industry. They're also exploring Southeast Asia. After Poland, the Philippines, a regular Hanguk defense customer, recently proposed fighter jet talks. They signed a contract earlier this year for 12 more fighter attack, 50 light fighter jets, with the first real combat use occurring in the Philippines. Since China keeps causing disputes with the Philippines over the South China Sea, the Philippines felt the need to strengthen its military power. They decided to enhance their military with Hanguk's weapons, which are known for their good performance and cost effectiveness. In addition, Hanguk is also considering exporting the Korean fighter 21 fighter jet. Reports say Hyundai Heavy Industries is negotiating to export 2 ships, the Miguel and Malbark Hoyam, to the Philippine Navy. The contract should be signed by late December. Korea aims to be the world's 4th largest defense exporter by 2030. Currently, Korea's share of the global defense export market is about 2.2%, and the goal is to raise it to around 6%. Countries such as Germany, Italy, the United Kingdom, and Spain lead Korea, and almost half of Korea's defense exports go to Poland. With the Philippines as the 2nd largest market, about 70% of exports are focused on few countries, highlighting the need to diversify exports. If exports to the Middle East go well this time, Korea will be able to tap into the Middle Eastern market, which accounts for 30% of global arms imports, and sell its weapons to a wider range of countries. A new Cold War is unfolding, creating significant opportunities as countries boost defense spending. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, global defense spending in 2024 reached a record high of $2.781 trillion, which is 3,916 trillion won. Defense spending is expected to rise in 2025 as nearly all countries have increased their defense budgets. Europe is significantly increasing military spending as countries rush to rearm over fears Russia could start a war within 2 years. Because they need to acquire weapons as quickly as possible, there is a tendency to want to buy weapons from Korea. Exporting defense products involves more than just selling weapons. A single weapons contract covers package deals like local production and maintenance. Revenue from maintenance continues after weapons sales, generating steady profits. How will the Korean defense industry progress? With the Korean Fighter 21 entering mass production and Middle Eastern countries joining, Korea will rapidly move into the 5th generation fighter jet market. Previously, this was an area virtually monopolized by the United States and Russia, but if the Korean Fighter 21 secures sufficient performance, cost, and competitiveness, there is a high possibility that the balance of the global fighter jet market itself will be shaken. Especially after the large-scale export contract with Poland, European countries have started to see Korea as a partner that can quickly supply quantities actually usable in wartime. As a result, the gap in production speed and fundamentals that existing Western defense companies are missing is turning into an opportunity for Korea. Once Korean products fill Europe's gaps in missiles, self-propelled artillery, fighter jets, and armored vehicles, the global market will shift dramatically. Major companies such as Hanwha, Hyundai Heavy Industries, LIG, and Nexon will expand their overseas joint ventures. They'll likely create a full ecosystem with local production, maintenance, and technology development, not just set up factories in certain countries. Countries such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates aiming to boost their industries will likely seek to attract full Korean company production facilities. If this trend continues, the Korean defense industry will shift from just product exports to a model with integrated global headquarters and overseas bases. As a result, Korea will rise to become a central country in the defense supply chain, establishing itself as a new type of strategic nation equipped with the ability to develop weapons tailored to future warfare, rapid mass production, and support for allied countries. Even though exports are strong now, we can't be complacent since many countries are always ready to compete. Japan will likely begin exporting defense products soon, increasing competition. We should export defense products to more countries while we can and also boost Korea's defense production capabilities. And we need to become a true arsenal of democracy and serve as a key hub nation that protects the security of other countries. What are your thoughts on Korea's defense industry performance? Share in the comments. Thanks for watching.